too happy with the NATO alliance. What do you make of his reaction?
Well, Chris, good to be with you as well. I mean, it's not surprising. That's a desperate president of his country. He's seeing his own countrymen die every day. I wish that President Zelensky would talk more about peace, and that's why I'm against all the fighting. I really hope that the dying ends very, very soon. I think that bringing Ukraine into NATO right now would actually add to the fighting, would make Mr. Putin even dig his heels in more. So I understand his concern, but now is not the time.
And to these cluster bombs being sent to Ukraine, American-made, some have observed that world wars, Senator, have started for less. Are any of your esteemed members of your caucus who pushed for billions of dollars to be sent to Ukraine, are any of them aware of where an American cluster bomb killing Russians could lead this conflict?
Well, I can't speak for all my colleagues, but what I can say is this, that this president is continued to have one red line after another that he's walked through. This is the president that said no troops on the grounds, we're not going to support jets, no cluster bombs, no long-range missiles, and he's done all of those. Chris, I grew up in the Vietnam era, and this is starting to feel a lot like Vietnam. That's why I want the fighting to stop. I want the dying to stop. I don't want to ever go back home to my home cemetery and see the flag-draped coffins of our young soldiers lining that cemetery ever again. That's why we need to be fighting to stop this. And I want to add, meanwhile, this president has never maximized his bank sanctions on Russia as well. It just seems like this president has made one mistake after the other. And I don't have to tell you or your audience, we wouldn't even be there today. Putin would not be in Ukraine if it wasn't for Afghanistan.
Well, not only that, if we had a different president actually sitting in the Oval Office, he wouldn't be in there. Look, Senator, since you didn't want to comment, if none of your colleagues in the Republican caucus have said to you their concerns about where this might lead, what kind of a dangerous escalation the addition of American-made cluster bombs into a theater like this could lead, where are you? Are you concerned that perhaps, Senator, that this could lead to an escalation that could I mean, come on, the headlines write themselves, don't they? American-made cluster bomb kills Russian child or kills Russian troops. Are you concerned about where this might lead, sir?
Well, more than cluster bombs, I'm concerned about who the president of this country is, that his inability to lead, his leading from behind, and he's always reactive. He could accidentally fall into World War III very easily. He's the problem. He has no demonstrable ability to manage national security. It's one failure after the other. That's my biggest concern. This cluster bomb, one little symptom of his back-talking policy. Look, Joe Biden's the big concern right here and now.
All right, let me ask you to put your medical professional hat on. You have also come out heavily against new CDC guidance saying men can chest feed. That's their word. The very term, Senator, the CDC is using is grotesque, absurd, and unscientific. You released a statement saying the CDC has lost all credibility and is in direct contradiction with the FDA pushing men filled with hormones and other drugs to breastfeed children. Men produce very little milk, even if they can successfully make it. As a medical doctor, Senator, give me your thoughts on medical science being allowed to be perverted and medicine to be perverted. Tell me, how do we reverse the Democrats' damage that they've done here?
Well, Chris, when will the woke left wake up and realize that putting their social agenda ahead of the health of babies is the wrong thing to do? Chris, I delivered a baby most every day of my life for some 25 years, 30 years if you count residency, and breastfeeding was an integral part of what I preached, what I asked my patients to do. And now what the CDC is promoting is absolutely, as far as I'm concerned, they're probably breaking the law. The FDA took the medications that they're recommending, they took it off the market because it caused a heart arrhythmia for adults. Can you imagine what would happen when this gets into the baby's system as well? So we know that this drug passes through the fluid. I'm not going to give them the compliment of saying breast milk itself, but some type of breast fluid is going to pass through there. They're also given these biological men estrogen and progesterone hormones, diuretics. They're throwing a concoction together to make this fluid, and they're putting this the transgender's mental health ahead of the baby's health. I think it's wrong, and that's why I'm fighting so hard against this. Someone has to stand up and speak for those babies.
Yes, it is wrong. It is very Democrat, sir, but it is also very wrong. Last thing, I wanted you to talk about His Eminence, Dr. Fauci. He accused Joe Biden's challenger, Robert Kennedy Jr.'s growing popularity, that it could lead to more death, said Dr. Fauci. Doesn't this confirm to you, Senator, that Dr. Fauci hasn't been a medical professional for some time, but rather a political figure in this country?
Well, again, Dr. Fauci put his own agenda, his own political agenda ahead of the health of this nation, that he was trying to cover up his own mistakes. Dr. Fauci funded viral gain-of-function research. It was one of his pet projects. He was partially responsible for the development of this COVID virus. So he's continued to cover up. He still doesn't admit the many, many mistakes that he made. Our speech was censored. Dr. Fauci said that masks would work. Well, no, they didn't. He said that the vaccine would protect us. You know all these things that he did that turned out not to be true.